Trees are amazing. Trees are nature's air conditioners. According to Nowak and Heisler, in their article for air quality in trees, it says in the middle of a park, it is 13 degrees cooler at night than the surrounding area. Trees cool off the air. And it's especially important in urban areas where there's a lot of heat off the street. Trees can cool the air down, and they do that through the release of water vapor and also shade. According to the USGS, 10% of the moisture in the atmosphere comes from plants, which includes trees. They also said that a large oak tree can go through 40,000 gallons of water a year, which is quite a bit. Trees use a lot of water. Now, trees provide many benefits to our world, our communities, our cities, and even in our own yards. I think trees are very important. And so when we learn how trees work, the processes, that we can better take care of them. I've been a certified arborist for the last 6 years, and I take care of many of the trees for the city of Chubbuck. And I take classes every year on how to maintain trees, keep them healthy. And it's always important to learn beginnings on tree biology and how they work. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about today is transpiration in trees, and it's how trees use water and expel water. Now, my first slide is just a graphic model of how it works. It's a picture of a tree, and it's got roots, trunks, and leaves. The water comes up through the roots, goes up through the trunk, and then out through the leaves, and that's what transpiration is. It's kind of like how humans sweat. When it gets hot outside, we sweat, it cools the body down. Transpiration is how a tree regulates itself through the loss of water, and it's also how water moves up the tree as it comes out the leaves, and that pull of it coming out of the leaves pulls it up from the roots. And so nutrients and other things can go through the tree. Now, it's important to just start this process where it begins, and that's at the roots. Now, according to Lilly, and it comes out of the Arborist Certification Guide, it's the book of knowledge on taking care of trees, branches have 4 main functions. And in my next slide, I'll show some of the roots that have the most important functions, which is absorption roots. But roots also provide structure for the tree, storage, and a way for nutrients to move. And so the next slide I'm showing you shows tiny little fibrous small hair roots, and those are used for absorption. They go out into the ground and they soak up water, and they do this through osmosis, and that's how it gets in. Now, the second part that we're going to go into is the trunk. So it goes from the roots into the trunk. And according to Lilly, there are 5 main layers to a trunk. You have the outer bark, which is like a protective skin for the tree. We've all seen bark on a tree. And the next layer is called the phloem. And that's where carbohydrates, or the food of the tree, goes up and down. And the next is we have the cambium, which produces the cells that create the phloem and the xylem. Now, xylem is the next layer, and that's the layer we're concerned with because that's where water travels up and down the tree. And according to Scientific America, the xylem is just a continuous column of water up and down the tree. Now, the next part, as you can see in the diagram on my next slide, is the heartwood, which is just dead wood. It's the xylem that has died. And I have a cross-section of one of the trees here. Hopefully you can see it. You have the outer bark, and then you can see all the different rings. And we've all grown up, you can tell the age of a tree by the rings. Every year it grows out, the xylem dies, and it leaves a layer. And basically that's how water goes up and down the tree, is through the xylem. Now, the next important part of the process is the leaves. And according to Lilly, the 3 main most important parts of the leaf are the cuticle, which is the skin of the leaf, the stomata, which is an opening in the leaf, and guard cells. Now, in my next slide, there's the anatomy of a leaf, and it shows the cuticle and some other things on the leaf, but the main ones that come with transpiration are the stomata and the guard cell. And stomata is like an opening in the skin, a pore, and the guard cell are like a sweat gland. So it tells itself when it gets hot outside to release sweat to cool the body down. Tree does the same thing. When it's hot outside, the guard cells tell the leaf stomata to open up and water vapor comes up. And as water vapor leaves, it pulls up water from the roots. And so it's a continuous flow. So that's why most of the work that gets done is done by the leaves. But it's also important because that's how the water goes up the tree. So I've talked a little about the process to begin with, and at the end, like I said, it's kind of like a human body. When it comes to regulating itself, we regulate our temperature through sweating. And we do that by drinking water, then going through the normal functions. But trees do the same thing. Takes up water by the roots, comes up through the trunk, and the way that comes up by the trunk is by the leaves expelling the water. So in conclusion, I've talked about some of the different parts of the tree and how they affect transpiration, which basically is just the tree sweating. But those benefits come from cooling the air, pulling moisture into the atmosphere, very important part. And like I said before, when we learn the functions of a tree, the better that we can take care of them and appreciate them, because they're complex structures, living things that need to be taken care of. And the more that I've learned about that, the more important they become to me. Just not something out there in a park, but it's a living thing that needs to be taken care of. And they have same functions that we do. So I think we can have a better appreciation when we learn. And that's why I like to learn about transpiration. Thank you.